Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Varadhari Jasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Chamunatira Vonachari Chamunadira Vonachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giradhari Gopi Jana Balaba Giradhari Jasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vonachari Chamunatira Vonachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhupada Thakur Sotara Sadashi Srimad Bhagavatam Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Charya Stotara Sadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Jagaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Sri Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Sri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Sri Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Jamuna Maya ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Shamaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. 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 Narayanam Naraskricham Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Dhyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nasta Prayeshu Abadireshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloker Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 22nd chapter, 4th text. Is that correct? Ato, repeat, hi anyonyam atmanam brahma kshatram cha rakshataha rakshati smabhyayo devaha sa ya sadashad sadasad atmakaha Sarasad Atmakaha Ato Yanyonyam Atmanam Brahmakshatram Charakshataha Rakshati Smamvyayo Devaha Sayat Sarasad Atmakaha Ato hi yanyonyam atmanam brahmakshatram charakshataha raksati smayayo dvevya sayat sarasaratmakaha ataha, responsibly, ataha, hence, he, certainly, Atyonyam, each other. Atmanam, the self. Brahma, the Brahmanas. Kshatram, the Kshatriyas. Cha, and. Rakshataha, protect. Rakshati, Rakshatisma, protects. Anyayaha, immutable. Devaha, the Lord. Saha, he. Yaha, who. Sadasaratmakaha, the form of the cause and effect. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. That is why the Brahmins and Kshatriyas protect each other, as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, and is yet immutable, protects them through each other. Purport. The entire social structure of Varna and Ashrama is a cooperative system meant to uplift all to the highest platform of spiritual realization. The Brahmanas are intended to be protected by the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas are also intended to be enlightened by the Brahmanas. When the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas cooperate nicely, and other subordinate divisions, the Vaishyas or mercantile people, and the Shudras or laborer class automatically flourish. The entire elaborate system of Vedic society was therefore based on the importance of the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. The Lord is the real protector, but He is unattached to the affairs of protection. He creates Brahmins for the protection of the Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas for the protection of the Brahmins. He remains aloof from all activities. Therefore, He is called nirvikara, quote, without activity, close quote. He has nothing to do. He is so great that He does not perform action personally, but His energies act. The Brahmins and Kshatriyas and anything that we see are different energies acting upon one another. Although individual souls are all different, the super self or super soul is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Individually, one's self may differ from others in certain qualities and may engage in different activities, such as those of a Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya. But when there is complete cooperation among different individual souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Supersoul, Paramatma, being one in everything, in every individual soul, is pleased and gives them all protection. As stated before, the Brahmins are produced from the mouth of the Lord, and the Kshatriyas are produced from the chest or arms of the Lord. If the different castes or social sections, although apparently differently occupied in different activities, nevertheless act in full cooperation, then the Lord is pleased. This is the idea of the institution of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. If the members of different ashrams and varnas cooperate fully in Krishna consciousness, then society is well protected by the Lord, without doubt. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord is the proprietor of all different bodies. The individual soul is the proprietor of his individual body, but the Lord clearly states, open quote, "My dear Bharata, you must know that I am also Kshetragya, close quote. Kshetragya means, open quote, the knower or protector of the body, close quote. The individual soul is the proprietor of the individual body, but the super soul, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the proprietor of all bodies everywhere. He is the proprietor, not only of human bodies, but of birds, beasts, and all other entities, not only on this planet, but on other planets also. He is the supreme proprietor. Therefore, he does not become divided by protecting the different individual souls. He remains one and the same. That the sun appears on top of everyone's head when at the meridian does not imply that the sun becomes divided. One man thinks that the sun is on his head only, whereas 5,000 miles away, another man is thinking that the sun is only on his head. Similarly, the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is one, but he appears to individually oversee each individual soul. This does not mean that the individual soul and the super soul are one. They are one in quality as spirit soul, but the individual soul and super soul are different. The verse? That is why the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas protect each other, as well as themselves. And the Lord Himself, who is both the cause and effect, is yet immutable, protects them through each other. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Garananjana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Jena Ta'asmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swaparantikam. So the Lord is, as it is stated in the purport, the proprietor of all living beings, not just humans, but all non-human beings, like plants, animals, insects, and so on. As is stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is the master, a proprietor of all living beings. He is known as Maheshwaram, the supreme proprietor. So everyone who is in this material world is fighting, in a sense, over stolen bread. Because the owner of everything, Yogakshema Vahamyaham, everything is in the proprietary object, is the proprietary, is owned by the Supreme Lord. Everything is His property. So this is the distinction. Prabhupada has very often mentioned that we should practice achintya beta beta tattva, the spirit of individuality versus cooperation, and achintya is like inconceivable. And he said that this should be discussed regularly, every year, by the leaders of the society. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they've relegated a committee called Unity in Diversity, which is a rough translation of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. It's not a simple thing to ascertain, because all of us are different. And as Prabhupada has said, and it is often said, that one man's food is another man's poison. So we are all very different. Yet we set aside these individual differences when it comes to putting on a festival or congregating in the temple or to chant Hare Krishna together. These differences are set aside, they're put aside. So that it is not difficult to obtain that kind of cooperation. But in an ordinary sense, it is very difficult because of the sense that one man's food is another man's poison. Everybody is different, and those differences are very difficult to overcome. There was a dispute between two very, I won't mention any names, but I remember this dispute took place between two very learned devotees. And at some point, although they had a very serious falling out, this happened years ago, they decided that they couldn't go through life carrying a grudge, that wasn't Krishna conscious. So on a certain Vishnu Tattva day, they had a meeting of the minds, and they agreed to work together and to set aside their individual differences, which had become very, very prominent. So it happens, even among some of the most learned people, that there are differences. And as Prabhupada has often quoted, to err, to make mistakes, is human. The second part of that aphorism, which was coined originally by Alexander Pope, the British poet, about 100 years ago, he said that to err is human, to forgive is divine. And that is very difficult to do. Sometimes people who were very offensive, I can think of one person who offended me in particular. It was partly my fault, because there was a newspaper existing called the ISKCON World Review, which no longer exists. But the mistake was that we doctored a photograph of the then President Ronald Reagan holding up a Bhagavad Gita, which didn't really happen. He wasn't holding up a Bhagavad Gita, he was holding up something else, a piece of paper, with his right hand, right arm. And so this created a bit of a stir. It was a big mistake on our part to do this. And one of the very senior devotees insulted me. I think that was the reason that there was this big insult. But years later, the same person contacted me And I could see that, I could tell by the tone of voice that there was an element of forgiveness, of regret that he was, or she, was so inimical at one point and made such an insulting remark. When there were some big fires in the Los Angeles area, in Pacific Palisades, I even contacted this person and said, "Are you all right?" And that person wrote back to me and said, "Thank you for your concern, we're all right." It's even a different part of the city. But the things that with time, people should be forgiving. And sometimes we're not forgiving because we're all individual souls, but we have that tendency to make mistakes. Prabhupada, in his early life, was a follower of Gandhi, and I mean a really devout follower of Gandhi. And later on, after 1971, after Gandhi had been assassinated, he told us that to err is human. Even Gandhi made mistakes. And the big mistake that he made was that he was warned not to go to the meeting, that there would be danger. And at that very meeting, he was shot dead, assassinated. And a year later, the person was convicted of murder. So to err is, everybody does it. I mean, even people that we think of as great personalities are subject to make mistakes. But this is the difference between Krishna and Krishna's followers and people who are either Mayavadis, demonic, or ordinary, we can say. In Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada reminds us that Rupa Goswami said that we should not be neglectful of ordinary things. Ordinary things like paying taxes, providing clothing for children, driving an automobile. There are many so-called ordinary things. And I happen to know that one person who is very advanced and probably in the age of the age bracket of 60, who never learned how to drive an automobile, and to this day doesn't know how to do it. And in a sense, that is a very, very a good thing. But in another sense, it is a very bad thing, because it is because of the invention of this ordinary thing that we are able to cater very interesting events and turn many people on to Krishna consciousness, and some of those people have even become devotees. So unity and diversity, or Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, is called Achintya, which means inconceivable. Veda and Abeda are oneness and difference. But Achintya means it is very difficult, even though it has been adopted as a slogan for the European economic community. It's people don't understand how difficult it actually is to achieve. And therefore, Prabhupada said it should be discussed year after year after year after year among the leaders, not just delegated to a committee, but discussed by the leaders of the society to come to a deeper understanding. And he said also that, this is a quote that I remember, that when there is a difficulty working together, and somehow it has been said that your love for me, that Prabhupada said, that your love for me will be proven by how much you cooperate together. I've never seen that written down, but it's kind of around. I don't know if it's Prajalpa or if it's a true saying that Prabhupada said it and someone heard it and repeated it. But it's around that your love for me will be determined by how much you cooperate together. So it was Krishna's intention to create varnas and ashrams, the system that they would be four distinctly different people, but they would be working together. And therefore, if they worked together, the society would be peaceful and prosperous. But they don't work together. I mean, people that are kshatriyas or administrators are very inimical towards the people who are the Brahmins or the intellectuals, and vice versa. So we're living in a society of what Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhakti Vinod called cheaters and the cheated. the ability to work together is not, in this age at least, in Kali Yuga, is not highly possible. So Prabhupada told us that if there is some dispute or some disconnect between people, we should sit down and discuss these things. Threadbare. I don't know if how it was translated, but the word threadbare appeared. I think we know what it means, to discuss it threadbare until we come to what he called deeper understanding. In other words, there is no room for animosity in and among devotees. That is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Devotees learn to be forgiving. We all make mistakes, but we have to learn how to forgive, even if it takes a long time. So to discuss things threadbare may even take a long time. But if it's done properly, one can reach a deeper understanding. So cooperation sounds like a very facile thing to do, and we all try to do it, but it's not an easy thing to achieve. And it requires singing together, going to festivals, and somehow or other operating together in a way that we wouldn't ordinarily do, but we have to be willing to set aside our differences. Sometimes Prabhupada calls this compromisation, and there are instances where Prabhupada says things that are apparently contradictory, both in lectures, in books, in conversations, in interviews. He says things that appear to be opposite. So in a way, it's a little insincere or a little difficult to say that anything that we can quote Prabhupada saying is always true in all places, at all times, and forever, because he says many different things. So in order to come to a fuller or deeper understanding of the philosophy of why things are seemingly contradictory, one has to study look at it from all points of view, not just one point of view, but all points of view. Prabhupada was lecturing at Bhaktivedanta Manor when the High Commissioner, I think that's the Indian word for ambassador, to England, was sitting in the audience. And it was a very difficult passage to lecture on, because it was in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and it was dealing with numbers of people. Duryodhana was naming the people, the kings who had come to side with the Pandavas. So Prabhupada was able to lecture on this very difficult situation in a way that was intellectually penetrating. He said that Duryodhana, by assessing the fighters on the opposite side, was a sign of intelligence. Although Duryodhana was demonic in many ways, he was a great politician in a sense that he knew the strength of his enemies, and Prabhupada called this intelligence. This is just part of what was said in the lecture, but this was an intellectually penetrating way to understand a very, very difficult and sort of esoteric passage that most people, they would even carry the Bhagavad Gita around with them for maybe a year or more, because they couldn't get past that first chapter. It's so difficult to understand. It's just in a way, it's like a series of Sanskrit words or names that are difficult to pronounce, and it's just difficult to know why one has to have such background information. So in many ways, newcomers are told to just read the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, because that contains the essence of the whole book. That's the basic philosophy, and that's where to start. We don't necessarily have to start at the beginning and read to the end, although there's a benefit to that. But for newcomers, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is more beneficial, because it makes it easier. It's like the whole philosophy in one chapter. So I'm going to stop here. If there's any comments or questions, please fire away. Yes?
I was just wondering, in the verse today, it says, the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, is yet immutable. I can sort of, with my limited intelligence, understand he's the cause of everything. What does it mean he's the effect? Can you?
Well, in a sense that, I mean, I also can't explain this from an intellectual point of view, but cause and effect are everything. Everything that happens has a cause, everything that happens has an effect. So Krishna is, in a sense, both the cause and the effect. What he says has a cause, and what happens afterwards is also an effect. And sometimes people will ask why Krishna allows the evil to exist. If he's all good, how can there be evil in the world? How does he allow it to happen? How can there be demons? So one of the ways to understand how to explain this is to say that as Prabhupada himself said, that demonic features or demonic attitudes are like the backside of God. Like we have a backside that's not necessarily the pleasant part of our bodies, but it is the back. Krishna also has the backside in a sense that he allows people to do what they want to do, even though it's wrong. He gives them the freedom to act, and we also have the freedom, like when we're driving a car, to drive on one side or the other according to the law of the land. In this country, we drive on the left side. In the United States, we drive on the right side. But Krishna allows people to make those mistakes and undergo what the effects are, the after effects are. If you drive on the wrong side of the road, what's illegal, you may get an accident, you may get arrested, you may get killed. But Prabhupada allows people to do the things that are harmful, both to others and to themselves, because he's both the cause and the effect. He allows everybody to do what they want to do, even though it's wrong. And those who are Krishna conscious, who are Vaishnavas, they're among the very small percentage of people who do the right thing. And it may take them a long time, but eventually they do it. But Krishna allows that to happen too, and he appreciates that more when that happens, when people get on the right side. In driving, you drive on the right side if you're in the United States. But if you're in Australia or the United Kingdom or India, you drive on the other side. But you have the freedom to do whatever you wish to do, whether it's right or wrong. That's the nature of God, that he's allowing even evil to exist. I don't know if that helps, but there's more to it than that, but I can't go into it any deeper. Hare Krishna. Any other points? So I think we'll end there. Thank you very much.